Hi my friends, and thank you for following this channel. I'm seeing more and more views, and for me this is very important because I believe that the cultural situation which is creating around coding and generative AI is not sane. So I feel like it is very important that somebody tells you their journey about having a good time with LLM and getting real help, even if I am not a programming. I am at this point a programmer, an expert programmer after so many years of after many decades of programming. So I can show you the way I get help from LLM, and maybe this can be useful for you. Then one can decide, I like it, I don't like it, I want to do it, I don't want to do it. But what is worrying me is to see a cultural opposition which is not driven by logic, but just it's a position that you set into this position, and there is no way to basically to move you from there. So for me this is very important. And for this reason, today I'm going to do something much more complicated than in the previous videos with LLMs, which is to take the Kilo editor. I already used this editor as a programming example in the previous episode of Coding with AI. This editor is very simple and it lacks support for UTF-8. So basically, if you have multi-byte characters, what will happen is that, for example, if I press right, I have to press 2 times here, and then the cursor goes over the limit, and all the kind of issues will happen. Also, if I go to right and go there, sometimes I see a segmentation fault. I cannot trigger it right now, but it happens as well. Let's see. No. By the way, it's all broken. This is because, of course, in the view of this editor, there are just bytes, and the only special handling is for the tabs. The tabs have special handling. As you can see here, there is a tab, and it's handled as a single, as a basically multi-columns character. Okay, this time I did the chat with Claude before shooting the video, before recording the video, in order to this way I already know what happened, and I can provide more interesting insights as the video will progress. So to start, I want to show you something. It is very important to start the chat with the LLM in order to condition it as soon as possible towards the right design decisions. So I started to put the editor itself immediately in the context window, even if I started asking a question which is not really about or already modifying the editor itself. I wanted Claude to start to design one of the basic functionalities that I believe is a good design in order then to modify the editor using such functionalities. So I wrote, I want to add UTF-8 support to this symbol editor. I am not allowed to use any external library, nor complex C functions in the C library, because the Kilo editor is bare metal, and I want the UTF-8 to be bare metal as well. And it is very important. This may be obvious for you, but it's not obvious for the LLM. So it is very important that you stress these kind of things in the prompt. Please start writing a function that, given a string pointer, returns the length, the number of bytes of the encoding of the UTF-8 character pointed, and with one of the width of the character on the screen, because you know UTF-8 code points can be displayed with a single column in the terminal, to, and so forth. This could be a good starting point to later implement UTF-8. This is very important as well, because I don't want just a function that does this. I want a function that will do this in the context of later implementing UTF-8 support to Kilo. So, for example, as you can see, the first version that it generated, it's very similar to Kilo itself. In the minimality, in the kind of comments that I use, because it takes its style transfer basically. However, let's see what it did. So basically, okay, this makes sense to have a structure as a return value, because we have two returns, bytes and width. The function name is cool, UTF-8 character info. And then what it does is, the first step is just to understand how many bytes the encoding uses, and this can be done in a very simple way, just looking at the bits that are set in the Unicode characters. And then there is some validation. It then will extract the code point based on the number of bytes of the encoding. And based on the code point, it will try to select the width of the character. So there are certain widths with characters that are just used in order to combine different Unicode code points together, and then there are the double width characters, and there are many ranges. So I look at this function and said, okay. And he said key features, validate to UTF-8 sequences, and blah blah blah. And it provides an example usage. But I noticed that the range about emojis was missing. And this is the most obvious Unicode UTF-8 character ever. So is this function already converting things like a smile? Let me check and enhance the function to properly handle emojis and this is the second version. As you can see, as I clicked here in Claude is this artifacts thing that it's very cool, because you have versions of the same code here. Basically, yeah, it added the other ranges, and the default it's 1. Example usage. Now please write a main function. This is very interesting. As it wrote the first version, then it continued saying, however, basically after the code was inside the context window of the model, it realized that there were problems. So it provided another version and another version of the function, and so forth. Example usage. And then I said, one thing which is very important, this producing more results is in some way similar to the O1 model conditioning, chain of thoughts alike. Basically the models, when they do that, are doing search. They are searching inside their own knowledge, because sometimes LLMs are very good at providing many potential solutions. But if you ask, and then they are good at picking the best when the multiple solutions are already in the context of the model, but they are bad, they are fragile when there is to pick directly the best thing. So Claude probably was on purpose conditioned in order to do that. Now please write a main function that I wanted to test it. So and he said use it like that. I tested it with these characters. However, one of these emoji are the ones that Unicode combines. Basically, let's look at the output. Basically, this program takes a string and split each different character and will display the encoding used. For example, the smile is 4 bytes, if 0, 9f, blah blah blah, and the byte length it is, and the display width it's 2, and this is correct. And then H, E, Y, these are just ASCII characters. And then there is, as you can see, there is the male face and then female face, and then there are inside characters that are the same, and there are characters that are used to combine these emojis into a single one, and then the child and the female child and the male child, something like that. And as you can see, the result here is this thing here, which is a family or something like that. So I said, I get this output, it doesn't work. I see the issue, the function is properly handling emojis, sequences as a single unit. When we get input like this thing here, it breaks up into individual components. And then it performed version 5, which is interesting the way it works. Basically, there is one function which is getNextCodePoint, that is basically our initial function that gets the pointer and returns the information. And then here there is a while loop. Basically, the first code point is extracted, and if the width is 2, so it's not an ASCII character or a single width character, it looks ahead to find joiners, these special Unicodes to glue together multiple code points are called joiners. Apparently, I am not very UTF-8 competent. If QM bytes equal 3 and blah blah blah. And so after this modification, the function worked very well. Let's see if I have it. I can show you. Okay. As you can see, this time it worked, and this single character in our terminal is actually 25 bytes. That's incredible. Anyway, it worked. Next chat. Based on the function that you wrote, what is the simplest plan to plane? How do you say it? Plan. What is the best plan in order to add UTF-8 support to kilo.c file? Don't write any code for now, just let's think about it. I have to repeat continuously to LLMs to don't write code for now, because I want the context window to become more semantic, in order to avoid that it will just implement the first stupid idea that comes to mind. Let's plan how to integrate with UTF-8, cursor movement and display. Currently, ECX is a global state variable, represents cursor position in byte characters. We need to distinguish between byte position and visual position. This affects blah blah blah. It affects many functions, and so it had a plan that was convincing enough. And I said, in editor insert char and similar function, the insertion position is no longer the offset in the row, right? Because I noticed that in its plan there was something missing. We need to insert based not on the offset, but basically on the character, logical character. Need to represent the other boundaries. Can just delete the single. Actually, this was a mistake on my side, or just I wanted to make sure that it understood. Exactly, it's a key insight file call insert position is treated as an offset in the row charts, but we will need to modify this. Okay, let's start with the above 4 functions before handling the visualization part. Is this a sensible way to proceed? Yes, that's a very sensible approach. And it started. Oh, that's super interesting. It came up with a very good abstraction. We will later see, which is a bit incorrect, but it's a very solid abstraction. The idea is very good itself, which is editor row visual to byte. So you get the visual position and you get the byte offset inside the row, and the reverse. Row bytes to visual. The error here is that we don't really care about visual in the terminal. If characters are wide, 2 columns or one column, it's a better abstraction to do like editor raw character to bytes to character and character to bytes, not visual, because otherwise we are complicating things. The visual stuff we can handle it just in selected points of the implementation when there is the display. But otherwise this is not a good idea. But in general, the 2 functions to convert back and forth are a solid idea. Key features, blah blah blah, taking the account 0 width and double width characters, both function work with partial positions. For example, this is a complication which is completely useless. Both functions work with partial positions. But back then I didn't notice that this was a shortcoming and said, yes, please, you update these functions. Also, you know, to keep the work going, otherwise... and he wrote editor insert character and blah blah blah. Would you like me to update editor insert character and editor delete character next to work with this modification? Yes, do it. And he did. The code makes sense. It's well written, resembles very closely the Kilo editor itself. Style transfer. Please update the visualization rendering functions. He did, and he committed, or she or it, whatever, committed a few errors here. Would you like me to update edit update row? Yes, and he did. Would you like to test this change? So I tried to compile it and it didn't work. But it was just warnings about not used variables. Let me fix those warnings by cleaning up unused variables and fixing the sign comparison. And it did. And then I said, I noticed that right now, with the code you provide, when I press the right arrow, it doesn't not just to the next smile. If I have something like 3 smiles, okay, I did here like some grammar errors of some sort in my row. It will take 2 right key presses to go there. And yes, that's because in editor move cursor, we are not taking into account the character width when moving right or left. So it modified this as well. And I said now it works better, but we have smile, and I put the cursor in the second smile. If I press new line, the line splitting is not accounting for the white character. Let's show you what happens here. So this was the code that we are talking about. So okay, for now let's do without syntax highlighting because there are other bugs. I was referring to exactly this stuff. I think I had this thing here. I don't know why it is kinda working. Oh, sorry, I already fixed it. In this version, it's already fixed, the splitting thing. Okay, so it said, basically, if I add my cursor after the first smile and I press the enter, everything was broken. In the next line, it was broken, exactly. Yes, we need to modify editor insert new line to handle UTF-8 character properly. So I tried. There is a problem. When I am at the end of the line, after this change, if I press new line, the final character is moved in the next line. So basically a split happens even if I am at the end of the line. And it corrected this. So we did some back and forth, basically. And Can you explain this section to me? Blah blah blah. Okay, basically I think when I arrived at this point, I started to debug the code manually. Before I started to try to fix the code with the help of Claude. Exactly. After I updated Kilo to add UTF-8 support, now the tabs rendering is no longer working. It is possible. The splitting thing, I fixed it myself. Basically what I did was to add insert new line, exactly. Debugging here, and what I discovered was that there was actually no bug at all, but the problem was this one. The problem was this, exactly. Basically, as long as the string was between basically since the smiles are inside the string, no syntax highlighting is performed here. When they are outside, then syntax highlight triggers, and it's broken because it fixed many things but not syntax highlighting. Another thing which is completely broken, as you can see here, this total 52 stuff, is tabs handling. So here I tried to do some back and forth, and he could not fix the tabs. But since I was at this point, I did the commits myself. So I used raw render for screen rendering instead of the actual bytes. This was a regression compared to the original code itself. Then I fixed the tabs myself, and instead of the visual stuff, I used the character index, as I said you before, and it took me little time to do that. And if I must be honest, these bugs are an amount of bugs that I could have introduced myself, so I don't think I lost so many time because of that. And the final result is an editor that works with UTF-8 characters. So as you can see, everything is working here. I can split. Look at it. It goes to the next character correctly. Now correctly understands the boundary. Also because I fixed the tab stuff. And it's very great. I can also do mixed stuff like that, cut and paste. It works great. So you can see we added using Claude a very complex feature inside the Kilo editor, and then I had to fix a couple of stuff, but this is something that I wanted to do for a long time, but since for now I'm very busy with work, I would not ever doing that if there was to spend an afternoon for that. Instead, I think it was 28 minutes the initial chat in order to get the first implementation, and 30 minutes in order to fix it and convert the things that I didn't like as they were. And I believe that it is a pretty clear example of what it is possible to do, because this is complex code, it's C code, there are offsets, UTF-8 makes things complicated because there is no longer it is possible to address things linearly. It's complicated, and so this was some kind of AI coding success, I think. Thank you for following. Bye.